Let's pick a field, folks. It's time. Everybody's waiting on this. We get so many requests. When's the Nerdcast? When are you going to do this? Everywhere you go, people are talking about it. I think we might be trending, or it's all the Riz, right? The three of us have, because
we're very
it's
popular on TikTok. You know, that TikTok crowd. Mark, I have a question.
Yeah.
Mark, I have a question. As Shauna has gotten more and more used to you being a Nerdmaster General, is it less dorky or like a lot cooler now to her?
No, it's not cool at all. No, she has no interest in my sudden stardom. None. But anyway,
all you have to do.
Yep.
All you have to do is play the intro to this show where you're just like coming in hot. Let's pick a field.
Right?
Just
let's do it, guys. Here's what we're going to do.
Right? Hashtag wait for the time. Hashtag high energy.
I'm Mark Etheridge. We've got Aaron Fitt, Kendall Rogers here. Between the three of us, we've been doing this, I don't know, I had brown hair when I started, so a long time.
True.
And
some of us still do, Mark. Some of us still have brown hair.
I had a full set of hair whenever we started.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Don't show the people that. Come on.
We are
Mark, I thought we were supposed to start
this.
I thought we were supposed to start this by you calling the Hogs.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. I tell you what, let's do. We'll just give a quick overview of how this works. Maybe, some of you may not have listened to us before, but what we're going to do, we're going to go through conference by conference and pick all of the field of 64. We'll do automatic bids. We'll do at-larges. We'll pick the 16 host sites, and we are projecting a little bit. Okay. So there's not, now it's a lot easier. There are only a couple more weeks left in the regular season than in the conference tournament. So if a team's resume doesn't look exactly like you expect it to be evaluated, it's likely because we're projecting a little bit. So, folks, Kendall, you want to pop up the field, and we will we'll get cranking. So, for me, Texas is still my number one team. I know it was a bad weekend, but the season is more than 3 games long, and they had been really good up until that point. Any discussion there? Anybody else?
You mean 3 losses over the weekend doesn't mean they're an absolute fraud?
Yeah.
Come on.
It's those other games count too, right?
Well, they don't actually. I've learned today that series wins over LSU, Georgia, and Auburn do not count because they were home.
Yeah.
I'll stick up for the readers who came after Kendall today for Kendall messed up his rankings today. I think we all saw that. Kendall is the one who determined the top 25 by himself, and he messed up this week.
Even though our rankings specifically say put together by the D1 baseball staff.
Yeah. Regardless, no, I will say this. I'll stick up for those people who came after you a little bit because I understand I get it. Nobody was actually. It didn't seem like anyone was complaining about Texas staying number 1 as much as they were complaining about Arkansas. Arkansas at number 7 did feel low. I think a lot of us think Arkansas is the best team in the country.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like they just swept Texas and we think they're the best team. Why are they number 7? Well, because they did lose 3 straight series. Like, what do you want from us, folks? I want to know this. Like, really, like they criticize us when we don't, just recognize the results on the field.
Right.
Okay. But like what happened on the field over the last month matters. It's not just 1 week, it's like they lost 3 straight series and they won a series. And so we moved them up, but like,
well, it's eye test versus resume. Right. And I do think that matters. You watch Arkansas and especially this weekend, and you think, oh my God, their best is the best in the country. It's just, you get their best every week and you didn't for the prior 3 weekends. So that matters too. So you can't just pick and choose, whatever priority whatever criteria that you feel is important. It's the whole picture. And that's what we're going to get to today.
Yep.
I think after Texas, for me, there's a group of teams I want to talk about here. Arkansas is one of them. Florida State, LSU. Anybody else?
I think that's to me that feels like the tier.
Yep. So the thing I like about Arkansas other than how they played this weekend. They're 7-2 against number 1 seeds in last week's tournament. That's pretty loud. They are 15-12 versus the field. Last week's field. Yeah. 11-5 versus quad 1. I mean, there's a lot to like there. Comparing them to Florida State. Florida State's 15-7 versus the field, so fewer losses, same amount of wins. But 10 of those wins are against 3 seeds. So it's not quite as if you're splitting hairs, it's not quite as impressive.
Just 2-0 against projected 1 seeds from last week. Yep. Which that's a big difference.
It sure is. It sure is.
And I like how you have this broken down, by the way, as in addition to the quads. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get that this stuff can be a little bit circular, yeah. but nonetheless, like I think this is an instructive way to look at it.
Okay.
I think I'm with you. Yes, I think I'm with you in Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm good with Arkansas.
Florida State 3, or is anyone else you want to lobby for?
I
like FSU there.
Okay. Yep. So my next tier: LSU, Georgia, North Carolina.
LSU would be the next team for me, I think. 15-9 in the SEC right now. They did just, they lost that series against A&M. Go ahead, Kendall.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do we think they finish? They have Arkansas. Well, they'll probably sweep South Carolina on the road. They have Arkansas at home this weekend.
I would say 4-2 would be the minimum they would do.
Yeah, I like their chances to. I mean, at home,
right?
Yeah, generally speaking, even though we just were finished saying we think Arkansas might be the best team in the country, LSU also might be the best team in the country.
It's so hard to win there.
Yeah,
as an opposing team.
Yeah, I like LSU here. I'm still buying this stuff.
Okay. So Georgia, North Carolina, and if you want to throw Auburn and Vanderbilt in this group, I'll listen.
Yep.
The thing that's really difficult is this parsing through Georgia, Auburn, and Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just because Georgia lost a series to Vandy, Vandy lost a series to Auburn, and Georgia took the series from Auburn, swept them. Yep. And Vanderbilt swept Georgia. So,
yeah.
I mean, this one really is like what do you prefer?
So you have to look elsewhere because head-to-head does not help you at all.
Yeah.
So with Georgia, 5-8 versus the number 1 seeds.
Yeah.
Auburn 8-8, number 1 seeds. Vanderbilt 6-5, number 1 seeds. Granted, that's not the only criteria, but when you're comparing, I mean, we're talking about number 1 seeds here. We're trying to determine the host. So I do think that matters at this level.
Yeah, and North Carolina just 1-0. And that also carries over into the quads. And I will say this, I mean, I know you don't love the way that the quads work with the home versus road, but like I do think, as we've seen, winning on the road versus winning at home are not the same. And so I actually kind of like the way the quads recognizes that. And so anyway, North Carolina just 8-5 against quad 1.
It's already baked into the RPI, dude.
Well, sure. I mean, like, all this stuff's baked in, right? Like we try to, any metric you pick is baked into the RPI, really.
DSR's not.
DSR's not. That's right. Exactly right.
Okay. So, but we can't do anything about that. The committee uses RPI. So,
right.
Within this, I mean, I kind of like Auburn right here. The only thing is the concern I have is it's still they still have to go to Ole Miss at the end. That's going to be a tough one. So they may go 17-13. With a top 5 RPI, how is that going to stack up? Because I think Georgia's got a chance to go 18-12. Vanderbilt could, I mean, depending on what happens in Knoxville. I mean, who can pick a series in Tennessee these days? But they could win it, and they could be right up in there too. Yeah. So it's, if you're trying to project, trying to break the tie, I might like Georgia's path a little more.
I think I do too. And Georgia, I mean, the fact that they're sitting there at number 1 in the RPI with a 15-9 conference mark, it feels like this is kind of their floor almost at this point. I mean, especially with the way the schedule breaks. I think I like Georgia here.
Yeah. The only thing, and And I'm with you. The thing I'll point out on Auburn, 15-10 against 1 and 2 seeds in last week's tournament. I mean, they're beating a lot of good teams. So
they really are.
Yeah. So for me, I would go Georgia, Auburn. That would be my next team. And then we can talk about Vandy and North Carolina.
I think I'm good
or
with
anyone
that.
else you want to bring up.
I like Auburn.
Yep.
Auburn, North Carolina is my next two.
Auburn,
a lot of SEC up in there, but Auburn, North Carolina. So I
kind of feel like. I mean, I kind of feel like if Auburn and Georgia are in here, Vandy has to be in here, right? I mean,
they're really similar.
Yeah,
very similar. I mean, I don't know how you put two of those in and leave one of them out based on what we're looking at.
Yeah, so Vandy's got at Louisville midweek and then at Tennessee versus Kentucky. My projection was about 3-3 for those last 2 weeks.
Agreed.
Which would put them at 17, 13, which it's probably it's borderline top 8 is what it is, which is
their RPI is probably not going to fall.
Right. Yep.
And it's 3.
Yeah, and I don't see anyone else in here that I'm itching to get. Oregon State's got the RPI, but the other stuff's lacking. Oregon's got the head-to-head 4-0 against Oregon State, but their RPI is 24. West Virginia's RPI is lacking. It doesn't seem like there's another choice. I think it's Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and some people, by the way, I do want to bring up Clemson real quick, just because some people are going to wonder, wait, they were 7 last week. They're not even in the discussion. The big thing about Clemson, just 5-8 against Q1.
Yeah.
Compared to some of these other teams like Vandy, 13 wins, Auburn, 13 wins, Georgia, 12 wins. That's just a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, 9-16 against 1 and 2 seeds.
Yeah.
That's not a host number.
Yeah.
Although there'll probably be a host.
The other team real quick that we had as an 8. We got a little bullish with the Anteaters last week, but UC Irvine all the way down to 18 after a series loss to the Tritons of UC San Diego. So obviously not in the top 8 mix right now.
Yeah, I don't think we were unreasonably bullish last week.
No,
but
not at all.
if you're a Big West team and you're trying to be in the top 8, you don't have margin for error. You can't go lose a series at UC San Diego. I mean, that changes your outlook. You're out now.
And who saw that coming? I mean, sometimes you just can't project.
That was at home too, wasn't it?
No, it was. I think it was on the road, wasn't it? No, you're right. It was in. You're right.
I thought it was in Irvine. I think that's why it dropped so much.
Yep, good point.
Okay.
Yeah, can't lose.
So that's our top 8: Texas, Arkansas, Florida State, LSU, Georgia, Auburn, North Carolina, and Vanderbilt. So the next tier of teams we want to discuss. I want to discuss Oregon State. I want to discuss Oregon. I want to discuss West Virginia. I want to discuss Clemson and Tennessee. And if you want to throw Coastal in there, I'll listen to that as well.
Yeah.
Start us off. Where do you want to go?
So I think Oregon has a really interesting resume. Okay, the RPI is not good, although it's really climbing compared to where it was 2-3 weeks ago. The thing I really like about the Ducks, they're 9-1 against our field, and that includes 6-1 against 1 seeds. And they're also the quad 1 record is 9-1. The issue is obviously the 24 RPI. How high do we expect that to climb? And then they're not going to win their conference, I don't believe, barring some shenanigans. I do think that they're within their conference. They played the 15th hardest schedule in the Big Ten, so that doesn't help you either.
Wow. That's surprising.
Considering
they have played UCLA and I guess they missed Iowa, but interesting. Yeah, they played USC. They played USC on the road and swept them. They won 2 out of 3 from Michigan, and they won 2 out of 3 from UCLA. So we're looking at some of the, and they still have Iowa ahead on the road.
Yeah, so that will help. Yeah, if you win it. So I do like the resume. I'm just wondering about everything else.
This feels a little rich right now.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah.
So the problem I have is I really liked Oregon State next, and Oregon just destroyed them. If you watch the teams, I think Oregon's better.
Yep.
I mean, they demonstrated it, but the resume isn't better, or at least all of it isn't. So it's one, how do you reconcile that? Or maybe you don't. Maybe it's too rich for both of them, and you look for someone else.
Yeah. Who else we got?
So
what about?
Yep.
Yeah.
West Virginia's played 3 teams in our field, or 3 games in our field, and went 1-2. Right.
Yeah, but here's what I would say about West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, if that is how the resume stacks up, what is something on its resume that kind of washes that away a little bit?
Winning the
that would
Big
be
12.
Leading the Big 12 conference, the number 4 RPI conference, by 3 games.
Yeah.
Yes, but that said, I mean, it's still the 13th hardest schedule in the league, and they've only played 1 regional team all year.
They lost that series.
And they lost that series at home,
it's one thing you can only play in conference who they give you, and a lot of teams are not winning those games, and they are.
Yeah.
So you get credit, but how much credit do you deserve? Just for having success against that schedule. That's what we need to decide.
Right. And I don't have the answer. I find that case to be very challenging.
I would say this, just kind of looking at it. I do think, I mean, I get that some of the numbers for Clemson aren't great, but I still like what they've done as a whole.
Yeah.
Well, from an eye test standpoint,
compared to some of these other teams,
yeah.
I mean, versus West Virginia, Oregon State, resume wise, like I
don't know. Oregon State's a tough. That's tough. There's no conference. 10-8 versus the field, but 2-6 against 2 seeds. So they're
yeah. They have a series win over UC Irvine, Cal Poly. They lost to OU, lost to Auburn. Yeah,
and just that Oregon fly in the ointment. It's a real issue for them.
And I mean, we'll get to this a little later, but their field record is probably going to be more 8-8 because Xavier was 2 of those wins. And Xavier's probably a team later on in this discussion that comes out.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, we'll see. I mean,
probably.
They could very easily be 8-8.
And one thing I'll point out, this report we're looking at, it does include the next 4 because we realize there's some margin for error. So it's really against the top 68, and we count those 4 as 3 seeds just to kind of give us a little bit of leeway because we don't know exactly what the field, is gonna look like. So from here, I mean, we've got to make a call here.
Yeah.
Can we eliminate something?
Do we have to though, Mark? Can we just call the show right now?
Yeah. So what I like to do when I have teams that look similar or I can't decide, what I like to do is find something that I feel really passionate about and reward that. I think for me, West Virginia winning a conference, that may stand out compared to some of these other resumes. I know they hadn't played the most challenging schedule, but that is a good league, and it looks like they're going to win it.
Yeah, it does look like they're going to win it. But I mean, I'm just looking at that SOS column, Mark. I'm seeing 179 is the overall SOS and 264 for non-conference SOS for West Virginia. And look at everybody else on this page.
It stands out, doesn't it?
Nobody else is anywhere near that.
I mean, here would be I think a pretty easy answer here. Tennessee. I mean, here's the thing. If we think Tennessee's going to win the Vanderbilt series, and let's say they lose the Arkansas series, but they go,
17-13.
Yeah. Because they're 14. I think they're a top 11, 12 seed.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make some sense to me. I think Coastal would probably fit into this discussion as well. For me, I mean,
so here's where I back off on Coastal a little bit is, our argument here is that West Virginia, the teams they're playing in conference aren't very good. Okay. They're winning that conference by 3 games. Coastal Carolina is winning that conference as well, but that is also the number 7 RPI conference, and Coastal's marks aren't exactly great. They're 3 and 6 against 1 and 2 seeds in the field.
And yet, though, I mean, just look at record versus the field. West Virginia 1 and 2, Coastal 7 and 6. I mean, that's significant difference. They've still, and their non-conference schedule for Coastal 36, West Virginia 264. Overall strength of schedule 63 for Coastal, 179 for. It's just despite all that, despite playing in a much better league, West Virginia's all their strength of schedule metrics are way behind Coastal, despite playing in an inferior league.
Mm-hmm. How do you think they would stack up in the advisory committee?
I think they'll both be well regarded. I think they're both talented. I certainly believe. I mean,
I actually kind of feel like they're kind of similar, don't you, Fitt?
Yeah,
a little bit.
The thing about Coastal is we think of them as a very offensive team. This is their best pitching staff maybe since 2016. Like, it's a really good pitching staff, and now the offense has gotten hot. And so anyway, I just again, and like, I hate the fact that it sounds like I'm bagging on West Virginia because I really like West Virginia's team, but the numbers are the numbers. They've beaten who they've beaten,
and none of this is personal.
No, it's and so like, I stacked up with Coastal, and I have a hard time actually making a case for West Virginia over Coastal.
So winning now this is another sidebar. How much does winning conferences matter now? Leagues are so big and you don't play everybody.
It's also
because in the past, that's always been a big deal. And that's been part of the criteria. Hey, they won their conference, and so that maybe they got overseeded compared to where we had them. Is that still a thing now, or as much of a thing? Because I would argue that it's probably less impressive unless you look at and see who they played in the conference. If they beat a whole bunch of good teams to win the conference, that should absolutely matter. But if they didn't, and they're just pulling in Iowa, sorry, you caught a stray. But if that's what's going on, I'm not sure I'm buying that.
Yeah. And West Virginia's metrics may look a little different after they play the two Kansas schools, which, again, neither of those are like elite teams either. But I mean,
at least they're in the field.
Yeah, right.
Probably.
I mean, they don't play, but they miss Arizona State and TCU, correct? Do I have that right? West Virginia,
yes.
Those are 2 of the 5 regional teams in the league. 2 of the 7, 6 or 7, whatever it is. The 2 of the top teams. So they kind of got lucky with that. Or not, depending on how you want to look at it. Maybe they would have been better off if they played those teams and beat them.
Yeah, right. At least had the opportunity, because
right.
I mean, they're winning the conference by so much. I mean, even a series loss wouldn't really impact it, but it would sure help that strength of schedule.
Yeah. So, like, ironically, maybe it's unlucky to get an easier schedule in this case. Regardless, for me, I would have Coastal over West Virginia. I mean, Tennessee, I think I tend to agree with you guys that they probably go 3 and 3-ish in the next 2 weeks. I think they're going to win the Vanderbilt series. So I guess
they're
it makes sense.
Surely not going to lose their 4th home series.
Surely not
this year,
right? Surely not.
Yeah. Let's go with the Vols 9. Anybody disagree there?
Oh, Vandy, Tennessee, and a super? Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, make it so.
Okay. So then we've got a clump of teams, and we can talk Irvine if you feel like they're still in this hunt. UCLA would be somebody else we could talk about.
Yeah, I like Coastal next for me. Coastal
and Clemson. Yeah, I mean, Clemson's very like Tennessee-esque to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
You want to go Clemson next?
Let's look at Clemson's remaining schedule here versus Duke at Pitt, which feels favorable. Feels like 4 and 2-ish kind of projection, which would get them to 18 and 12. Right now they're tied for 6th, but I would think
7th in the RPI as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I still like Oregon over Oregon State. I think they played 4 times, and Oregon won all 4.
That should matter. But I might at this point have both those teams behind Coastal and West Virginia.
I would too.
Okay.
Yep, I would totally agree. You got to hit them a little bit for the lower RPIs.
Yep. I mean, Oregon State has a higher RPI, but we've talked about the flaws in their case. So, I mean, and I have a hard time going back. I go back and forth with Oregon versus Oregon State. Like, there's a big RPI gap, but also there's the head-to-head gap that matters. And for me, I just think this Oregon feels like an RPI outlier that, will wind up, I think, being seated considerably higher than their RPI would suggest.
I like Oregon here, though, at 13.
Me too.
Okay. So, I mean, we can talk about some other teams. I added NC State here. I know they had a rough weekend, but they're still
36. I mean,
pretty good shape in the conference. How do you think they're going to finish?
I still think they're going to host. So they're at North Carolina and versus
with a 36 RPI right now. They're behind A&M and Connecticut and Mississippi State.
At North Carolina versus Stanford. But I mean, here's the thing: is I think they get to at least 18 wins, maybe 19 wins in the ACC.
Yeah, feels like they're going to need to get in the top 22 to be able to, or 23 to be able to host with that.
Needs report.
Can they get there?
So,
of course, the conference tournament, not including that one.
Tournament, yep. They have 7 games left. The RPI news report at boysworld.com says they need to win about 4 of those last 7 to finish in the top 32, which means you're going to need to win 5 or 6 out of those 7, really probably 6 out of those 7 to finish considerably higher than that. So there's some RPI issues here, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think they're going to be shy.
What is holding them back?
Let me ask you this. I mean, given the conference schedule or given the conference record of 15-8, does NC State being so low in the RPI open the door for somebody like Miami to sneak in there? 25 RPI. They're 14-9 in the league. They have a head-to-head series win over NC State.
That's a good point.
Does it put them in the mix?
And certainly they're playing so well right now.
I mean, here's my other thing too. And I get it. The committee says, "Oh, it's teams, not conferences get bids, and not conferences get hosts." But conferences do get hosts. I really don't care what they say. Yeah. So it would add an ACC host.
The fact that Miami is suddenly only 1 game behind NC State in the standings and has the head-to-head 2-0 record is interesting. And I mean,
if Miami wins that Virginia series this weekend, they're probably finishing with 18 conference wins, if not 19. I mean, I don't think they'll sweep Notre Dame at home. Notre Dame's pesky, but
I'll say this
they've got
too,
a pathway
right?
to 18 wins.
I know Miami's hot right now, and they could win that series in Charlottesville, but it is on the road. UVA is also playing better now. I would favor.
Okay.
And so maybe tap the brakes a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say they're ahead of NC State in the pecking order, though.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. All of a sudden, which is wild, considering where we were a week ago with NC State, talking about them in the top 8 potentially.
All right.
I'm shocked how much their RPI dropped this week. That was wild.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 3 spots left. So I think Oregon State's going to get one of them.
Yeah, I do like Oregon State at 14. I still think, A, the resume is not bad. B, the eye test is really good on Oregon State. Like there's a lot of talent.
Yeah,
a lot of talent
I think so.
On that team.
Okay. They're playing Hawaii today, right? Have they played that game already? As we record this on Monday night.
I bet that's a late game.
I wasn't sure it was night or not because they've probably traveled there.
10:35. Hopefully, or 11:35 Eastern. I want you to stay up and give us a report in the morning.
Yeah.
We want a full report.
Let us know how it goes.
Gosh, that is late.
We're trusting you with this. Don't let us down.
I'm on it, boys.
Rick Astley would be proud.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So 2 spots left: Irvine, UCLA, TCU, Arizona. I think we're going to.
Can I just back up for 1 second here? Because here's the thing. I just want to throw this out there because we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and let's say Hawaii wins that game and it's a 4-game split. Like, how much does that change? Like, we're talking about how fine of a point is this? Like, how much does that change your perception of Oregon State's hosting cases?
For me, it doesn't change much.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because, I don't think any of these remaining contenders have, amazing cases.
Yeah, they're all flawed for sure.
I would also, by the way, we don't have them on here, but, I would add Ole Miss and Oklahoma, too, to the list.
DBU should be in the discussion.
Yeah. Oklahoma and Oregon State, Oklahoma and Ole Miss are both 13-11 in the league. Yeah. Oklahoma, real quick. Oklahoma's 22 in the RPI. They finished at Kentucky and Texas at home. They've got the pathway.
Yeah.
If they finish the season winning series over Kentucky, Texas, and they have the Ole Miss series win, they're probably hosted.
Yeah, they may. Alabama had a 7-2 lead in the 8th inning, or else they'd be on this list. It's funny how the margins are.
Alabama still has the same record in the league as Ole Miss and Oklahoma, right? They're all 13-11.
Yeah.
Alabama's RPI is probably better than either of them. They're 13.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is 17. Oklahoma's 23. Why wouldn't Alabama be on this list?
Yeah, Alabama finishes home against Georgia and at Florida. And Florida right now is not a team I would be real eager to play.
Although Georgia at home is a team I would be eager to play if you look at their offensive splits.
Yeah. I'd project a 3-3 there.
Yeah, and that takes Alabama to 16-14, and with a good RPI, and certainly you can host with those metrics. It just depends on who the other contenders are.
Right. Gosh.
So what about UCLA? It's number 11 RPI. It's 11-9 versus the field. But
8-7 on the road.
Yeah, 8-7.
26 in SOS, non-conference strength schedule. And
the toughest Big Ten schedule.
They actually went up 6 spots in the RPI after losing 2 or 3 this week at USC. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like we had them hosting. I would still probably have them hosting.
Yeah, and even though they did lose 2 out of 3 to USC, they have a random Sunday win over USC. So they're actually 2-2 against the Trojans.
That's true.
Yeah, from February.
At Dodgertown.
Dodgertown.
Yep. Okay, so we've got
Look at us West Coast homers here, by the way.
I know. We're going to be surfing before you know it. So you got TCU and Arizona would be 2 teams that we want to talk about. I know they just played and Arizona won. I like TCU's resume better, but Arizona just won the head-to-head.
Boy, and I'll tell you, Arizona's resume is fascinating because it's now 19. Wait a minute. Do I have this right?
That's TCU's.
Oh, that's TCU's 19-10. Gosh, 19-10 versus the field for TCU is pretty loud.
But 7 of those are 4 seeds.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why we have it broken down by seeds, and the committee doesn't do that, or at least they haven't in years past.
Yeah.
I'm recalling now what it was. Arizona's 11-10 versus Q1. TCU 5.
That's a lot of wins.
That's a significant gap there. And Arizona has the head-to-head now. Standings
15-9.
Tied. TCU slightly higher RPI, but feels like more high-end stuff for Arizona. I don't know. And the head-to-head, this is too much West Coast. I'm kind of leaning Arizona here. Unless there's somebody else. We can look at some mid-majors. DBU, UTSA would be both worth at least talking about.
Yeah, DBU to me is just light. If you look at their non-conference weekends, it's
they have a series win against UTSA.
That is literally their resume.
That's the highlight of their non-conference.
Yeah, their best series win outside of that is Jacksonville State at 89 RPI. I just think that's light. I'd much rather. I mean, if I'm the committee, I'd much rather have somebody like UC Irvine hosting over DBU right now.
Yeah, and I think UTSA is also light, even though I just wanted to bring them up because numbers wise, I mean, it's they're 21 RPI, 18-3, and I thought it was interesting because if you compare their resume to, let's say, I'm just gonna throw this out of thin air, East Carolina last year. East Carolina hosted with a 24 RPI and like 19 wins, or I think in the league. Like UTSA has got like a 5 or 6 game lead in the American right now. ECU won it by 2 games with a 24 RPI and hosted. Now, there's some differences. I mean, East Carolina did have like some better non-conference stuff, especially with all their midweek action, and they had a certain member on the committee. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But that member
never hurts.
But that person is still on the committee, right? Which maybe he'll fight for his league. I don't know. Maybe that helps UTSA. Who knows? But anyway, just throwing that out there because I think it's. I still think it's unlikely. I still think UTSA's resume feels short for me, but worth mentioning.
Let me ask you this. I mean, if you look at these teams right now, so that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 SEC hosts right now with 3 ACC.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not another candidate I like better than Irvine, Arizona, or TCU.
Yeah, it feels like there should be another ACC host, but there's just not right now. It's wild. I mean,
I'd probably lean Arizona overall. I mean, think about Arizona. The 11 wins against Q1 is pretty loud.
Yeah.
13-7 versus the field versus for Irvine 8-5.
Yeah, the other teams that have that many are SEC, ACC. Nobody else does.
Yeah,
because you don't play enough.
I like it. Let's go Arizona. It's like the West Coast quartet over here.
Arizona, let's have I'll throw this out there. 160 non-conference strength of schedule. Irvine is 35. But it's weird when you start parsing this stuff and then you look at all the high-end stuff versus, and Arizona's got a lot more high-end games, and it's like, how do these numbers don't really add up half the time? It's just bizarre.
Okay, so that's our 16. So Texas, Arkansas, Florida State, LSU, Georgia, Auburn, North Carolina, Vanderbilt. That's our top 8. Then Tennessee, Clemson, Coastal Carolina, West Virginia, Oregon, Oregon State, UCLA, and Arizona, rounding out the field of 16 hosts. Look at the bottom 4 are all out west.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one thing that just stands out here is how much competition there are for these bottom 4 or 5 spots. There are a lot of good candidates right now with 2 weeks left of the regular season.
Lots to play for.
Yep.
I would say also looking at just kind of the changes from last week. In the top 8, we've got 3 changes here. Georgia, Auburn, Vandy, all 3 SEC teams move into our top 8.
I'm sure that'll go over great.
Replacing Tennessee, another SEC team, but also Clemson and Irvine. So those are your changes in the top 8. Hosts, I see Arizona and Oregon in, replacing NC State and
Irvine.
Who else? Irvine gets pushed out. That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
So
that's the first half of the show. So now we're going to go conference by conference and pick the automatics, the at-large candidates, and then at the end we'll see how many teams we have. We typically need to trim some, and at that point we'll do our bubble analysis. So Aaron, you want to kick us off there?
Sure. Let's we'll go alphabetically, of course, starting in the America East, where we had Bryant, guys. I don't know if you noticed this. Bryant reestablishing itself as the leaders in the Bryant Athletic Conference, we used to call it. That actually used to be the NEC, we would call that. They're now in the America East. They swept Maine. Let's make that change. Bryant in, Maine out in the America East. So let's see here. Bryant, by the way, is now 2.5 games ahead of Maine in the standings. Okay. Onward to the American, where it's still UTSA up 6 games over FAU, Charlotte, and South Florida. How about the Pirates tied for 5th place, 7 games back? That's wild. Just weird to see.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Okay. To the A10, we've had George Mason. They're now tied for first with Rhode Island. I think we go status quo there. I think both teams swept their series this weekend. Let's stick with George Mason, who has the head-to-head result as well over Rhode Island. All right, ACC. We've got Florida State, North Carolina, Clemson already in as hosts. NC State, Miami, Georgia Tech are all safe. Duke, I still think is perfectly safe. I know the RPI is a little bit, just keep an eye on it. 39 RPI, but they're 14-10, and they played a bunch of series well in a row. Louisville's fine. Wake Forest still fine at 12-12 with a 26 RPI. Virginia remains where they were. I mean, they won a series. They're 11-10 in the league, back above 500. That was last week. They won that series against Georgia Tech. They did not have a conference series this past week.
Right.
Still 73 in the RPI. So still work to do there. Notre Dame surging. They're up to 50 in the RPI after taking 2 or 3 from Louisville. They've won 8 of their last 9 conference games. It still feels like they're surging. 50 with a 12-15 conference record still feels light as it currently stands, but they've got 1 series left at Miami.
Mm-hmm.
If they win that series, they could probably play their way in. Right now, I wouldn't project that to happen, and so I would probably keep them out.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech.
That's the other one.
Yep.
Yeah. Not trending in a good direction, boys. Swept by Pitt.
Never seen this movie before.
Yeah, I know it. They've lost 4 straight series. They're down to 11-16 in the league with a 51 RPI. They still have a series left at home against Virginia, but at this point, there's no reason to feel any kind of confidence in Virginia Tech. I think they're out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Pittsburgh, I'm assuming still too light, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. 9-15 league with 54 RPI. Keep an eye on them. They're on the radar watch, but I think it's not there yet.
Okay.
So
what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep these 4 that we did not include, as we'll just keep them here. And then if there's room and we need to talk about it, or our next 4 or our 4 to watch, then they'll still be on the board.
I like it. Good call. Okay, onward to the A-Sun. I believe, is that where we are? The A-Sun?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so Stetson is 20-4 now after this weekend. They won 2 or 3 at home against West Georgia. Austin Peay is now a game ahead after sweeping Bellarmine. Again, these teams don't play this year. I mean, I think we're fine sticking with Stetson, but it's kind of the same spot we've been in. We like both teams.
Yep.
Okay. Big 12. West Virginia, Arizona State, Kansas, Arizona, TCU are the ones that I think feel safe, even though Arizona State and Kansas RPIs are 40 and 38. Like, they're not slam dunk RPIs, but combine that with good conference records. And I know Kansas had a bad week, got swept this week, but I think they're still fine.
Yeah.
Then you get to the bubble teams, Kansas State and Cincinnati, maybe Oklahoma State you could talk about.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati. I think Oklahoma State would be off for now. The Cincinnati with 13-11 record. They're a game and a half ahead of Oklahoma State. They have the head-to-head series win over Oklahoma State. I don't think Oklahoma State has a chance in hell to get in right now, but Cincy certainly does.
Yeah, I would. At this point, I kind of think Cincinnati should be on there ahead of Kansas State.
Me too.
And part of the reason for that is Cincinnati also hosts Kansas State, I believe, the last weekend of the season. And so you'd probably project advantage UC there. And then the Q1, I mean, Cincinnati's 7-9, Kansas State 4-14. They're separated by one game in the standings. Kansas State's one game ahead, but I think that other stuff favors Cincinnati. So my pecking order would be Cincinnati over Kansas State.
Okay.
And for now, we could have them both in. There'll be 7 teams, and we can come back to it. Okay. All right, onward to the Big East. An interesting one here.
Yeah.
I think we can make a change for the automatic qualifier. Connecticut would take over that spot now, replacing Xavier. But they're 31-13 overall, and I still think they're worth watching. But I would put them behind Xavier still for me, and out. For now, I would probably just stick with UConn and Xavier.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Big South. Stick with High Point here, 14-4, still first place. This is a 1-bid league, but they're a good club, so we'll stick with High Point.
Okay.
Big Ten. UCLA, Oregon, USC are the safe teams. Iowa remains in first place. They're 2.5 games up, despite losing a series to Washington. They are still in first place comfortably. However, 66 RPI. What do we do with these guys?
Are they still the automatic? That's what we did last week.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I'll tell you what, at this point, I will say this. That feels like a cop-out to me because if we have 2 other Big Ten teams that we have projected as hosts, I mean, like, even if they don't win the regular season, it seems like we think they're the better teams.
Win the automatic in the tournament.
Right. Like at this point, I would probably project Oregon as the automatic. Even though they're in third place. I mean, it's just unbalanced schedules, whatever.
Right.
Where do you guys come down on that?
Well, I mean, I've already shot astray at Iowa. I mean, it's not a great conference schedule, and it's not a great overall schedule, but they're winning those games. So it's kind of that old thing that we always run into. You have a team with a gaudy record, but they haven't done a whole lot to impress you. They don't have so they're a tough evaluation. So they just played Washington. That's probably the best team they played. Is the way Washington's playing right now in conference play. I think they did play Michigan. So you got those two, and Washington won that series. So that's, I don't know. It's there's so little sample size to go on to know how good this team is.
Yeah. And they've got Oregon State and Oregon the next 2 weeks. Both are in the state of Iowa. And they're playing Oregon State in Des Moines, and they're playing the Ducks at home in Iowa City. So I don't know what we project them to finish in those 2 series. I mean,
I wouldn't project them to beat 2 of our hosts.
I don't think I would either. I'm nervous about these guys. If they lose both those series, you finish them with 3 straight series losses, and the RPI is not going to cooperate. Certainly they could win one of those series, but sure. I like the Oregon teams better. And you asked me today who I think could win those series. I'm going to say Oregon State and Oregon.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that being the case, I mean, for the purpose of our exercise, I don't know that Iowa's in.
Yeah, well, we can put them on the board.
Yeah,
and compare them to the other bubbles and see where we land. Anyone else from the Big Ten? Michigan, Washington?
Yeah, I mean, keep an eye on Michigan. I mean, Michigan's up to 52 in the RPI, 14-10 in the league, still 6th place. I mean, Washington 15-9 in the league, but 72.
Yep.
1-9 against Q1.
Yeah, it feels like Washington, despite having a nice frisky season, is probably going to come up short. Michigan just 1-5 Q1. They have their own problems there, but the RPI being 20 spots higher gives them puts them a little bit of a different spot. So I would have Michigan as the next team in the pecking order. and we can put them on the list here and reevaluate later.
Okay.
But I would think it's probably unlikely still. It feels like it's UCLA, Oregon, USC, and maybe somebody else wins the automatic. Like right. that kind of feels to me like how it's got to go.
Okay.
Big West, Irvine obviously safe. Poly, I think, is still okay. RPI actually did not drop. I don't think it dropped this weekend, did it, Kendall? After they played, yeah, they went.
I think it did drop a little bit.
So they played. I guess it did drop in the last 7 days, but yeah, they did drop 8 spots.
I don't think they're totally safe though. I mean, if you look at the remaining opponent, they're 37 in the RPI, but they're 2-10 against Q1. Mm-hmm. So essentially, they played tough teams, but did not win any of the series. Right. They have at Northridge 217 RPI, and they finished with Riverside with 243. So it's going to go down. It's just a matter of how much. And also, if you lose, let's say you lose one of those Riverside games at home against a 243 RPI team, your RPI is going to drop probably sizably. Yeah.
So they swept Cal State Bakersfield this week and dropped 5 spots after those after that sweep. So they're still 35. 18-6 in the league. I mean,
it's a tough sell. I mean, right now, Poly's best series win is
Hawaii,
69 RPI Hawaii.
Yeah,
I mean, they are like a classic case of a team that gets snubbed.
Yeah,
like just not much meat on the bone.
Didn't get swept.
That they'll have this year is there's a conference tournament, so they can potentially pick up some wins depending on the draw. So
we've also seen plenty of times teams that have played good schedules and not gotten swept. Like you go to A&M, you lose 2 out of 3. You play Oregon State, you lose 2 out of 3. Well, those aren't like the 3 of us look at those and say those are series losses, but the committee says, all right, they didn't get swept. The math helps them out, and there's something to be said for that. Sure, there is something to be said for winning a game against those teams, but ultimately, like, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how big the bubble is. It's getting dicey for them. There's no question about it. But right now, I think they're probably still ahead of a number of other bubble teams that we'll talk about.
Yeah, agreed.
2-bid league, though. Nobody else really at this point, with Santa Barbara fading and Hawaii. I mean, those teams are done at this point. Yeah, it's automatic or bust.
Okay.
The CAA, we've got, of course, Northeastern. Keeps on keeping on. Guys, they've won 16 in a row. Hashtag Rise Up Brookline. 16 in a row. Our guy Stitchhead was out there in Brookline this weekend writing about this team. We had Shotgun write about him, I think, last week. We're covering the Northeastern story here at D1 Baseball. On to Conference USA. Dallas Baptist. What have we got?
KU back on the board.
Yeah, what do you got on these guys now? They're big rebound.
Kentucky, beat Kentucky and swept Louisiana Tech at home. So 45 RPI. I mean, they're not in an awesome spot, especially when we consider the 278 non-conference strength of schedule. But I mean, that was a big weekend for them. The biggest thing with WKU, again, if you look at the remaining schedule at New Mexico State, RPI 159, and then they got Jacksonville State at home. RPI 89, that won't hurt them too bad. But again, very little margin for error. I just don't see, and Mark can correct me here, I just don't see like a team from a conference that is the number 6 conference RPI with an RPI in the 50s getting in with a 278 in SOS.
It's rare. It's very rare for that to happen. I mean, just they played 27 games against quad 4 teams. Just for context, BYU's played 3.
Yeah.
I mean, those are extremes, but still, that's a lot of record padding.
That's wild. Also, keep an eye on Kennesaw. 53 RPI. They're 14-6. They're actually a half game ahead of Western Kentucky in the standings. 8 spots behind them in the RPI, but if they played Western Kentucky, they have, and they won 2 out of 3 at home. Kennesaw has the head-to-head there, and this weekend they go to DBU, and so I think it's kind of if they win that series, then we really got our attention.
You got our attention. Yeah.
Right now, probably I would forecast them to lose that series on the road and say they come up just a little short, but stay tuned. Keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, if they win that series, they could leapfrog WKU for sure. I mean, like they're already ahead of them in the standings technically,
and they beat them head to head. So
they beat them head to head, and they may already be ahead of them. Should we put them on the board, or would you not at this point?
Well, I mean, we can do that.
Like, let's say they lose 2 out of 3 to DBU, but they have the head-to-head over Western Kentucky. How would at that point, how would you stack up Kennesaw versus Western Kentucky?
I mean, Kennesaw is what?
WKU won the series against DBU on the road.
Right. But they're 1-6 against the field.
1-5 Q1. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably just still light. Let's see what they do this weekend.
Okay.
But they're on the radar. All right. The Wright State Athletic League.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Raiders of Wright State.
Yeah, Wright State, by the way, over the weekend won their 7th straight Horizon League regular season championship.
Yeah, incredible.
Pretty impressive.
They have a 7-game lead. I know they've already clinched it, but up 7 games over second place Northern Kentucky, 21-3.
Ivy League.
Columbia,
how about that?
You sticking with Yale or are you going with Columbia?
Well, so here's the thing. Columbia's now in first.
By a game and a half.
Yeah, so the regular season's over here. Is that right? For Columbia. Does Yale have another weekend to go? Yes, Yale still has to play Dartmouth on the road. So that's the difference. Is Columbia's done. They're in the clubhouse at 16-5. But Yale's at 13-5, so they just have 3 games left.
How in the world did Columbia clinch the regular season already?
They haven't clinched.
They clinched the playoff spot.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what they tweeted out? I thought they tweeted out Ivy League champs.
Oh, I don't get. Maybe I guess they clinched at least a share of the championship but Yale has the head-to-head advantage over. Yale has the head-to-head advantage over Columbia, right? Like they won 2 out of 3 against Columbia.
Yeah, how's that possible?
So if Yale sweeps this Dartmouth this weekend, then Yale would have the tiebreaker. They'd be the number 1 seed. So that tweet doesn't hold up for me.
Yeah, those Ivy League guys.
That is weird. Yeah, they have a tweet out that says champions once again. And they're only hold on a second. Let me try a different. Let me go to the actual. I have a feeling there's a game missing from all these. Yeah, I mean they're a game and a half back. I don't know how if they swept,
if Yale sweep Dartmouth, they'll both be 16-5, and Yale has the head-to-head. So I guess they'd be co-champs.
Okay, that's a little deceiving. Come on, Columbia. We see what you're doing, Brett Beretti.
Yeah,
I feel like Hayden Schott's behind that tweet somehow.
I was gonna say, get your boy Hayden on.
He was. They had just
clean it up.
They had just beaten LSU, and after the game was over, he was still talking smack to White Hensler.
Good stuff.
So where do we
want to switch to Columbia?
We stick with Yale. I'm not going for these shenanigans with our false tweets.
Yeah.
Screw that. Yale's won 6 in a row. They have not done anything to lose this spot.
Okay. I'll look forward to the impending at Aaron Fitt and Hayden Schott showdown on Twitter.
Bring it on, Hayden. Let's go.
All right, Aaron. Next one, I'll let you do the honors.
Yeah, this is the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Many people are calling it the MAC.
There we go.
We're sticking
the
with
Bill Courier
here,
division,
right?
is what I call it.
We're sticking with Fairfield. It's a good race. Riders once again kind of having a good year. The good doctor Barry Davis. They're only a game back, right? Our friends at Fairfield did stub their toe this weekend. They lost 2 out of 3 against the Red Foxes of Marist. Riders gaining on them. It's only a half game actually lead for Fairfield. Let's stick with Fairfield, but keep an eye on it. The Bronx are frisky. They're playing well. No, the Bronx got swept this weekend. Never mind.
Hashtag no credibility.
Yeah, they played Army. It was non-conference, but okay. Next, we're sticking with Fairfield. Let's go to the Mid-American Conference, boys. Ball State this weekend had a big showdown against Kent State at home, and they lost it. Yep. The Golden Flashes.
You mean the Golden Eagles?
Not the Golden Eagles. The Golden Flashes. Take 2 out of 3 there. They're tied for first place, along with Miami, Ohio. It's a 3-way tie. Let's make the change here, boys, and go with Kent State. What do you think?
All right.
Okay. All right, on to the Missouri Valley. Stick with Missouri State, I think. Still at first place, a game ahead of Murray State. But Murray State's 31-12. Missouri State's only 25-20. So the Racers have had a nice year.
Yeah.
Is there a head-to-head here? No.
There is not. Last weekend of the year.
The final week, yeah.
At Reagan Field in Murray, Kentucky. I'm sure you'll be there, correct?
No, I'm gonna be in Troy that weekend. Actually, going to Troy. But I mean one bid league. But I think we stick with Missouri State first place team, and we'll move on to the Mountain West.
Yep.
We've got a 3-way tie here. Par for the course. This feels like how this league usually plays out. Just a big old quagmire at the top. Fresno has been our pick. They got swept at Nevada. Right. Nevada and New Mexico are now tied with Fresno for first place. New Mexico, let's see. Nevada also has a head-to-head against New Mexico. So let's go with back to the Wolf Space Pack. The Wolf Space Pack. Nevada replaces Fresno. We have had Nevada at various points this season as our projected qualifier. So, all right, back to the NEC, where we've had Central Connecticut for most or all of the year. They're currently tied with Long Island, both 20-4.
Yeah, let's see if they have a head-to-head. They won the head-to-head back in March.
Yeah, and that was.
But, they've lost 2 of their last 3 series.
That's true. They lost the series to Quinnipiac and lost the series to Wagner.
Whatever.
I say we stick with Central Connecticut, but
okay.
LIU on the radar. One bid league. Onward to the Ohio Valley. We went to SEMO, I think, last week. Mm-hmm. That didn't work out great for us. The old when in doubt, go with SEMO doctrine fails us. As they get swept. What was
Joe's doing? Because we might need to go back to the Cougars again.
Yeah, SEMO got swept by Tennessee Tech at home, no less. We've had Tennessee Tech at various points this year as well. They have the best RPI. They're 1 game behind SIU-E currently.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's a head-to-head here. Tennessee Tech versus Edwardsville. What do we got? Edwardsville won 2 out of 3 at home in that matchup. So I don't know, boys. I think I like Tennessee Tech, but if you wanted to go with Edwardsville, you could sell me on them. I think I like Tennessee Tech.
I'm not going to debate you on OVC.
Yeah, who cares?
Tennessee Tech replaces SEMO. I care, Kendall, and you should care. This is our job. It's a serious business. All right, next. Patriot League. Hey guys, somebody else want to take this one?
Yeah, the Crusaders.
I'm going to leave the room while you talk about this one. You talk about my team.
The Crusaders from Worcester County. They're up 3 games in the Patriot League over Navy and Army. Actually, RPI 144, 27-22 overall record, and the Crusaders swept Runes' poor Pards. You can read a little bit more on that on Pards Extra. And they also took 2 of 3 from Lehigh this past weekend. Beat the Mountain Hawks 24-7 and 17-5. So yeah, the Crusaders from Worcester County is the pick.
Hey, are you guys done talking?
Sounds good.
Like we're back in the room.
Yeah.
We're back.
We didn't choose your team.
We switched to Army. Is that okay?
Bummer for me.
You can't have an opinion since
no lobbying.
All right, let's go with the SEC. Wait a minute. I didn't jump, did I? Yeah, no, we're on schedule. SEC. See, Kendall.
That's only me that jumps. Although that was a one-time deal. I got little, I had like I had like 4 tabs open, so it was just a little, just overstimulation.
That's right. 4's a lot.
All right.
Do we have potentially 14 bids in the SEC, fellas?
So the safe ones, real quick. Texas. This is just in the order of the standings: Texas, Arkansas, Georgia, LSU, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Alabama, Oklahoma, Auburn, Ole Miss are all safe. All those teams have at least 13 wins. Florida also safe. Florida 11-13 with a 15 RPI. They're safe and surging. And then we've got Mississippi State, A&M, and Kentucky all at 10-14. All with RPIs in the 33 to 41 range. At this point, guys, Mark has been warning us about this for a while, about Mississippi State. Like, he's been pointing out this schedule at the end of the year.
They're going to get in.
They swept Kentucky at home.
So they're ahead of schedule.
Yeah. Now they've got Ole Miss at home and at Missouri. It's very favorable.
Yeah.
I mean, they're guaranteed to win the Ole Miss series. Ole Miss is good, but it's still a home series.
Mm-hmm. And then they've got to go into Taylor Stadium the last weekend of the year in Mizzou. I mean, that's going to be rough.
It's going to be lit.
I mean, they're trying to make history there.
Yeah. Can I make a prediction?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I know Steve Robertson's is gonna DM me over this, but my prediction is that Missouri wins one for Mississippi State.
Wouldn't it be? No, we can't even bring this possibility. What if they won the Ole Miss series, then lost the Missouri series and missed out on a regional? That would be a tough scene.
Yeah, it would be hard to swallow.
But yeah, at this point, I like their path. I mean, is their path still behind? Gosh, how do you compare them with A&M? They're same conference record, almost identical in the RPI. A&M gets Missouri at home, then at Georgia. I mean, you probably
easily A&M with their series wins at Tennessee,
Road
at
series,
Arkansas, LSU.
It's hard to beat that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Mississippi State doesn't have that.
Correct.
Kentucky is the team. Kentucky. Yeah, Kentucky's the team. They've got to win some games. Okay, so they host Oklahoma, and then they go to Vandy. They've got to split those 6, in my opinion, to make it. Because I don't know that 12-18 as the 14th team with an RPI over 40.
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to need some good luck. Everything's going to have to fall your way. I do think that there's a great shot for them to win the Oklahoma series at home and then not get swept at Vandy. I think that's the path.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that kind of hurts UK too, Mark, a little bit is we know the committee kind of looks at teams' injuries and things like that. They played A&M before A&M got a couple of their guys back from injury, including Sorrell. So you can bet that the committee's parsing those kind of teams at the end. I mean, they're going to go, hey, what, like how was A&M different since then? And they're going to point to, guys coming back like that.
Well, I mean, half the SEC's that way, though. I mean, Mississippi State was terrible. Florida was terrible. A&M was terrible. And now, I mean, they're all different.
Yeah, I don't think I think when we talk about the committee looking at injuries, we're more talking about like who's healthy for Kentucky as they head into like are they totally banged up right now? Like that.
Yeah.
I think that's more.
I think it's smart to look at teams like, okay, what was their status? Like Florida, for instance, sure. they had a couple of series where they didn't have Liam Peterson. I mean, I think anybody with half a brain would look at these teams and go, they're a little different team, healthy right now than they were 2 months ago when they had 3-4 guys.
They're beat up. Yeah.
I mean,
it's a different team.
That's true, but also like you start getting into the season's so long and everybody goes through these ups and downs and has injury peaks and valleys. And like, if you start going down that road, like it's a long and winding road and you can really go down some rabbit holes is all I'm saying.
That's fair. I mean, I think they're on the board now and then we'll see how.
Sure. SoCon.
Yep. Let's see here. So we had East Tennessee State. It remains. Yeah. It remains the pick.
Actually, by the way, they're 34-12 overall, and Joe Panucci's team has got an RPI of 49. 9-1 their last 10. I mean, probably not getting in as an at-large, but I mean,
but they're at least within position now with a strong finish to get a few breaks.
One of those handful
be on the discussion.
One of those handful of, I call them likely at one bid leagues, but like with a team that has a shot,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one issue you run into is if you look at their non-conference, other than the Pitt series they won, which, Pitt's RPI is up to 54, but, again, the intent to schedule here, NKU, Miami, Ohio, Binghamton, Siena.
They beat, they gave Tennessee their first loss of the year, if I recall.
Yeah. Midweek,
There's that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean,
good club.
Ultimately it feels like probably a unlikely at large, but there's a chance.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Southland. We've had trouble with this one in recent weeks.
It's kind of cleared up this week though. Like McNeese is out.
2 teams.
Yeah, McNeese is 68 now on the RPI. They're out of contention. Lamar, I thought, needed to take that Sealess series over the weekend. They're out of contention at 58. So it's Southeastern Louisiana at RPI 48, which they were automatic last week. I'd probably stick with them. And then UTRGV with an RPI of 31. They actually swept a midweek series from Texas Tech last week. It's kind of weird because people go, well, Texas Tech's struggling, right? But, I mean, Texas Tech's RPI is actually not bad. Like, they haven't played bad on the weekend the last couple of weekends.
Yeah, 57 RPI.
Yeah, not bad.
So that's going to the road.
2 teams.
Yeah. That's actually, that has my attention, what they did midweek last week for UTRGV.
They
still going to Lubbock. I understand. Like, this isn't a vintage Texas Tech team. You're still going to Lubbock and winning 2 games.
Yeah, they're trying to. The intent to schedule is very good there.
Yep. I mean, I would say certainly they're safer at this point than Southeastern, but we can keep Southeastern as the automatic. They have the head-to-head advantage, even though they're I guess they're percentage points ahead actually of UCRGB in the standings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go with the 2-bid league here. I like that. Sunbelt remains a 3-bid league with Coastal, Southern Miss, and Troy. You can keep an eye on Southern Miss as a dark horse host. Doesn't seem likely to happen.
Wait, what do you skip the SWAC and the Summit, dude?
Okay, sorry about that. We'll go back to those.
Unbelievable. No respect. I'll just go ahead. Bethany Cookman is the call out of the SWAC. The Wildcats 20-4 in the league, 29-19 overall. RPI 245, but they are 2 games ahead in conference play. And I'll just take this one so Aaron doesn't get triggered.
Please.
The Summit League, ORU is the call. ORU sitting at 27-18, 14-19 the lead. The Tommies of St. Thomas actually lead the league at 16-8, but of course they are in a transition period through 2026. Aaron will be happy to know that ORU's RPI is almost into double digits.
I am excited about that. 104 is roughly where they should be. Not 295 like they were last year. Anyway.
Yeah. Now the Sun Belt.
No change in those 2 leagues, SWAC and Summit. Sun Belt, no change here either. Coastal, Southern Miss, Troy. As I was saying, keep an eye on Southern Miss as a dark horse host candidate. Probably unlikely. 30 RPI, 18-6 in the league. 4-4 Q1. Like, they really finish hot. They win this series at Troy. Let's say they sweep that series at Troy. Could get interesting.
I will say this. I mean, I would argue this. If they won that series at Troy and they won the Louisiana series, I actually kind of like them as a host. If there's not, if there's not obvious candidates, because they do have that non-conference series win at TCU, which is looking pretty loud.
And they've won 9 in a row. So
they're hot.
Just keep an eye on it.
They got one of the best pitchers in America on. It would be in the game 2 of a regional.
I'm excited about that series down at Troy. Mark, I know you were talking about maybe getting up there for the Saturday game also. We'll see. I think I'm not gonna be there Saturday. I'm gonna be in Athens on Saturday. So if you want to parachute in,
Yeah.
And he means literally parachute in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I drive pretty fast, so
yeah. All right, onward to the West Coast Conference, where you're fighting Toreros now, solo leaders in this league. We had them last week already after they won the series against Gonzaga. They just continue to play really good baseball after that miserable start.
Yep. They're going to be in somebody's regional, and somebody's going to look at their record and go, "Oh, these guys must suck," and they're going to just be a total pain in the ass for somebody.
Yeah, yeah, and they'll probably wind up in one of those 7 West Coast regionals that we're forecasting, and then all the West Coast people will know that they're dangerous because they're name brand out there. And finally, the WAC. We had Sacramento State guys. Sac State, good weekend. They played a road series at Grand Canyon and took 2 out of 3. So they
29 runs in 2 games.
Established their bona fides there. They're the team to beat in the WAC. How about that? Our man Patrick Ebert had a good piece on them last week. Good timing.
Okay.
Ebert.
All right. We have 3 to cut.
3 to cut. So
Michigan.
The bubble. Yeah.
I think Michigan's a very obvious one.
Michigan is a good candidate. Yep.
Let's take them out. Okay. 2 more.
So the other
I'm just not, I will say this. I'm not feeling like a team such as Xavier is getting in.
Yeah, you seem like you're ready to quit them, and I don't quite know what's changed from last week.
Well, there are what's changed from last week is
their RPI is
went down.
Sure. But like they didn't, they still won their series. Went down 40 spots, but they still won their series, and like they still have a 5 non-conference strength of schedule and a 3 non-conference strength of schedule. What's their overall strength of schedule?
7.
It's good.
No, mate.
No, 44. Yeah, I'm saying 44. Is that right?
Yeah.
The problem is, the problem they have is that to some degree they're the Cal Poly of the East.
Except other than 4 and 10.
Other than Liberty series and a midweek against Indiana, 1 midweek against Kentucky. Okay, they do have a series over Connecticut opening. Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there's some other teams here I'd probably cut before them. Well, is there? Looking at these bubble teams, I don't know if there is.
So the candidates would be UTRGV, Western Kentucky, Kansas State, Kentucky,
Iowa. And I'm gonna say it again. I'm just like, I get that Iowa leads the Big Ten. I'm worried about that right now. Just looking at where they are on the RPI and what they have left.
Well, their RPIs, even just playing these games, it's only going to go up.
Will it much, though? They're all at home, right? I guess what?
No.
I guess the ones in Des Moines.
The Oregon State series is actually genius on Rick Heller's part because it's a home game, but not actually at home.
Yeah, it's in Des Moines. So actually, will that go down as a neutral site, even though it's...
Absolutely it will. That's not their home park.
Right.
It depends on how they classify it.
Yeah, like if it's the proximity to Iowa City, though, I don't know. Like, doesn't that matter? Doesn't that factor in?
I don't think so. I think it's up to the home team how they classify it as home.
There's no way they classify that as a home game if it's up to Iowa.
Well, sure, it's up to Iowa, but maybe
for example, I know that UAB will play games at the minor league park, and even though it's not their home stadium, it's still a home game or road game for the opponent who comes in. So anyway,
I wonder if you can actually have a situation, Mark, where it counts as neutral for Iowa, but a road game for Oregon State. I wonder if that can happen.
You got to designate it
one or the other.
Yep.
And I wonder if I'm Oregon State, if I'm playing that series, I probably would want it to be stipulated as a road game, right? So I don't know the answer to this. Yeah, and you're going to Iowa to play Iowa.
Yeah, my question would be, why in the world are you even playing this in Des Moines?
I don't have the answer.
Somebody wrote a check, more likely.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway.
I don't know. I still.
So if you're looking at record versus the field, there are teams with that played a lot of games, but there's not anybody that just has a sparkling record, right?
Yeah.
Like Virginia Tech 2-7 against 1 seeds, but 7-3 against 2 seeds. Right, so that's it's better. They're just not trending well.
Yeah, they're just out for me. I'm not a believer anymore. I have more faith in Virginia finding a way than at this point than Virginia Tech.
Okay, so with Kansas State, 3-9 versus the field, 1-4 against 1 seeds, 1-3 against 2 seeds, 0-2 against 3 seeds.
But awesome. One of their 80s on the committee.
Well, that trumps all of those numbers.
Yep.
Okay.
This is true.
So just looking through here.
I mean, the problem the only thing I would look at with Cincinnati potentially is the fact they're at TCU this week. But I don't care who's on the committee. I just like Cincinnati's resume better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to punt them just because of that.
Yeah, and the fact that they host Kansas State, again, if we're projecting, I think that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So I said it before, and I'll say it again. I have Cincinnati ahead of Kansas State in my pecking order.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Cincinnati, they've got a series win over Duke, a series win over Arizona State, series win over Oklahoma State, swept Kansas. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. They're for me, they're ahead of Xavier, they're ahead of Kansas State, they're ahead of Western Kentucky and Iowa, I think.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky for me is kind of a problem just because of the schedule that we talked about. We see this every year where some team has a non-conference strength of schedule of 280 and they get left out.
Yep. And they're 278. Where are they?
Yeah, they're not
when you pull your report, but it's
280.
Yeah.
And Mark, you kind of always say it, but if you have a non-conference strength of schedule like that, there's got to be something that eliminates it. Winning your league, and they haven't done that.
Yeah, I agree. I hate, I think that's a cut.
It's one spot.
Who was the team we cut a minute ago? It
Michigan.
was Michigan. Thank you. All right, one spot. We think Kentucky and Mississippi State are going to get there, right? We think they're going to find a way.
I certainly think Mississippi State will. Kentucky is the one I have least conviction because it requires them to beat Oklahoma or to win at Vandy. They got to. I feel like they have to split.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of think they will, though.
I do too, but that's that's a narrow path where some of these maybe aren't as narrow. They're certainly not playing teams that good. So the other one I would look at would be the second Southland team, and if we feel like it's UTRGV, what I do like about them, they have a non-conference strength of schedule 56.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Which is, they went out and played people. It's just 1-4 versus the field.
Yeah, if you stack that up against Xavier, for instance, Xavier's 7-10 against the field. It's a lot louder, and with the number 4 non-conference strength of schedule. Even though UTRGV has a better RPI, I think I like Xavier's resume more.
Yeah, what's going to hurt Xavier is if they don't win the league and UTRGV does, because they're percentage points out.
Right.
And the way Connecticut and Creighton both are playing, I don't know that Xavier is going to win that league. They're going to need to be a third place. Maybe they tie for second, which they can still get in. It's just it hurts their cause.
No, for sure. They're currently 1 game behind UConn, a half game behind Creighton.
Mm-hmm.
They've got at Creighton this week to finish up Big East play.
I think those are my next two.
Yeah.
Xavier.
So behind Kansas State for you?
Yeah.
I think. Okay. So Xavier or UTRGV?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. Sounds like, Kendall, you prefer UTRGV, yes?
I do.
Mark, where do you come down?
But I don't. I mean, I'm okay with Xavier.
If I can only have one, I'll take the team that challenged itself the most in non-conference.
So Xavier. Yeah, I agree with your dog. I think it's tricky. I think I'm going to take Xavier also. Gosh, I feel like we've been yo-yoing with these poor Southland teams. We're just messing with their emotions every week. We're just like, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out.
Tease.
And the same with Big East, though. Really, like both those basically those two leagues have been swapping spots every week. It's been wild.
Yeah, I mean Xavier's non-conference is exponentially better.
Okay. So let's see. Changes from last week. We dropped out UTRGV and Virginia Tech. We added in Cincinnati and Mississippi State. Do I have that right? Is that it?
Seems right.
I think that's right. Hanging on by a thread, we've got Xavier, Kansas State, Iowa, Kentucky. Probably your last four there.
Yeah.
By the way, we didn't even talk about them, but I mean, are we just assuming Cal Poly's getting in?
That's another one. Yeah, that's a good point.
We did not have them highlighted, but I mean,
should have highlighted them. Intended to. Yeah, that's another one that's on the bubble.
I think I'm okay with them in for now, but I mean, it is a razor thin margin for Larry Lee's club.
Yeah.
Yep. And you know what?
I still think they're good. Well, you saw them. I mean, they're a pretty solid club, right?
They are good, and it's just funny because like after they lost that Friday game against Irvine, I just recall talking to Larry, and you already see how nervous he was about the math.
Oh, yeah.
He's already looking ahead and being like, because I'm sitting here talking to him about, oh, you guys could still host, you come back win this series. He's like, oh, he just worried about getting in, like he's been down that road too many times. He saw the RPIs ahead of him, like, so he knows, they know what they got to do. There's no margin for error.
Okay. Well, that's the field, folks. We've got our 64. If you guys want to check the seeds and see if you want to shift those around, we can do that. I guess the final thoughts for me is, one, are we really going to have 14 SEC teams in? I know that's kind of a perfect storm for it to happen because the two teams at the bottom are just so bad that they're more wins to collect than we traditionally see. Not sure that this is going to play out, but I think it's a realistic chance. The other thing to point out is just how fuzzy it is at the bottom of the host. And there's a lot of different ways that this can play out, and maybe even some teams, that we didn't even talk about in these next 3 weeks shoot up, or we barely talked about and grab one of those spots, because it always seems like somebody becomes this dark horse Cinderella kind of team that is lost, but ends up being a host. Anything from you guys?
Yeah, I would just say this. You kind of hinted at it, but I don't want people to think that this is just going to be the new norm with the SEC getting 14 bids a year. Like, it is a perfect storm. I mean, it's most of the time you're not going to have Missouri going winless and South Carolina with 5 wins at this point. Like the bottom two teams in our league right now have 5 wins combined. And if you compare that with the ACC, which is the closest thing the SEC has to appear, Stanford and Cal are the bottom two teams, and they have 15 wins combined. So that's 10 more wins for those two bottom teams. If you distribute those 10 more wins to other ACC teams, like, a lot of those ACC resumes start looking a lot better, and maybe they get 12, 14 teams in, So it is a bit of a perfect storm, and I think it's a little bit deceptive right now about the overall quality of the SEC, because I do think, I mean, we all know the SEC is the best league, but like, do they really have 14 regional caliber teams? I don't know. But they very well may get 14 this year, the way it's breaking. And it does feel like a perfect storm situation.
Yeah. or that league could just be that good.
They could be. That's alternately.
If A&M's your 13th place team, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have to go on a rant here, but it's all about the resources you put into the sport. If you have more money to spend, you have more money to allocate to players, facilities, coaches, and you name it, and you know where all that's getting consolidated.
Yeah.
So,
real quick, I think for me, Mark, as we look ahead to the next week, is just, what happens with Iowa? Do they go to Des Moines this weekend and make a really big statement against Oregon State? Or do they lose a series and, we reevaluate it and go, well, maybe we actually drop them out this week. That's a big weekend for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
Well, with that, that's a show, folks. I want to thank Academy Sports and Tecovas Boots, our sponsors. It's really great having people who care about the sport who help us do all this great content. So thanks again for that. And we'll see you next week, and we'll pick another field.